Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm going to be talking about two of the three latest styles at Joseph Duclos, the Diane L30 and L15. The third style is the Sinclair pochette, which I'll talk about in a later video. I'm Anesu Sagonda and I produce educational luxury content for anyone after the finer things, whether you're new to money and wanting to learn how to navigate the terrain, or you're young and starting out in life and wanting to reap the benefits of buying better quality from the get-go, or you're into luxury but you want to focus more on high quality, under the radar brands, then my content is geared towards you. In the last few weeks, I've been asked a number of times about the hardware, how well it wears, will it tarnish, how will it hold up in tropical weather, humidity, for example. And I thought I will use this video to talk about the hardware in a little more detail. The other comment I recently received was from one of my viewers, and she said, "Oh my gosh, I can tell you really love Joseph Duclos." And I wrote back with a cheeky response, but I wanted to touch on that comment because I do talk a lot about Joseph Duclos. Firstly, because there isn't a lot of information about the brand. And secondly, because I feel I get a lot of fairly privileged access to the brand. Whenever they have press events, I'm able to ask a lot of questions, all the questions I want to ask. Ramesh is typically there. And so you hear directly from the creative director. So there isn't any hearsay. And I feel it would be wrong of me not to let consumers know, because very few people know just how phenomenal a brand Joseph Duclos is, especially in comparison to the other brands. When you consider the high quality of the leathers they're using, the craftsmanship that goes into their bags is absolutely phenomenal. And Ramesh is somebody who spares no expense. He goes above and beyond, and artisans who work with him will consistently say they like working with him because he really pushes the envelope, he pushes the boundary, he challenges his artisans to be better, and that is reflected in the craft, in the high quality of the leathers used, the high standard of finish to his bags. And I feel it would be wrong of me to know this and not share with the viewers, considering there are bags that are double the price, triple the price of Joseph Duclos bags, but they don't offer a fraction of what you get from Joseph Duclos. So please bear with me as I talk about Joseph Duclos, their leathers, the different styles as they come onto the market. The Diane L15 is the smallest of the Diane bags, and it's a bag that's been made with ease of use in mind. It's very easy to get your hand in and out of the bag. It's a square-shaped bag, 15 centimeters in length, 15 centimeters in height, and 5 centimeters in depth. It's made from tempo leather, which is a natural full-grain calf skin. It's a durable leather that's not going to scuff or mark easily unless you take a fairly sharp object to the leather. Currently comes in 4 color options: khaki, blue Occitan, camellia, and maroon glass. It's the type of bag I would recommend as a running around bag. It would very comfortably fit your essentials: phone, card holder, a bit of makeup, keys, for example. A day to evening bag, great as a work bag. You have your essentials in there, and then it doubles up with the tote, which would carry your bigger items, laptop, books, files, for example. I talk in detail about the tote. I'm going to attach the video above. And then in the evening when you're going out, you ditch the tote, check it into the cloakroom, and then you have the bag as an evening bag. It would work fantastically well. On the front of the bag, you have the ornate clasp, which has been designed by Ramesh, and then the band around the side of the bag, which a number of people, as I mentioned in the beginning, have been asking me about. There's a very small number of brands geared towards the top end of the market producing high quality hardware. It's hardware that is commissioned, it's handmade hardware as opposed to in a catalog. A couple of the brands are actually owned by Hermes, and a couple of others are still independent. And the quality of the hardware is on par with Hermes. It's the finest quality when it comes to hardware in the market. And that is what's being used. It's been plated to a very high standard, so it's not going to tarnish, peel, or crack for example, but that's very much dependent on how you look after the bag. If you're in a humid country, for example, how you store the bag really plays into wear and tear. If you were to place it in a bag and plastic, for example, somewhere humid, that could potentially compromise the leather, it could compromise the hardware. But the best is use the bag. Please don't be precious with any of the bags. They're expensive, they're well made, and they're made to be used. The more you use the bag, the less the hardware will tarnish, but it will not peel or crack or have any issues because it's been incredibly well plated. And it's been made, as I mentioned, by companies that are right at the top end of the market, producing alongside Hermes and the same quality that Hermes have on their bags. Looking specifically at the band is the piece de resistance on this bag. With Ramesh, something that I'm learning with him is he won't create a bag, design a bag, and then decide on the hardware and the leather, for example. He works the other way round. He will have, for example, a leather he wants to showcase, he wants to show off, and then he will create a bag that'll do that. There may be, for example, a particular craft he wants to show off. With the stitching, there's angle stitch, which is a lot more complicated than the saddle stitch, which is a lot more common. And angle stitch is unfortunately on its way out. Very few people can produce angle stitching to the degree, to the extent that's needed for a brand like Joseph Duclos. And because Ramesh doesn't want the craft to die, he introduced the Saint-Clair, which I'll talk about, because of the angle stitch, and then he created the bag on the back of the angle stitch. And one thing I've noticed is that a lot of the artisans that work with Ramesh, after talking to them, they'll tell you they really enjoy working with Ramesh because he really pushes the envelope, he pushes the boundaries, he challenges them, he produces bags that are incredibly complex, but they make you think, they teach you a lot. And that's something that a lot of the artisans really enjoy, and I'm appreciating about Ramesh. The band, every single band they have on the different sized Dianes is uniquely made for the Diane. So he doesn't produce a one band fits all. It's individually measured for the bag. The text then adds a fairly high level of complexity to the bags, because with the band, it is a flat piece of metal. It has been measured out for the bag, for the particular size of the bag. And then once you put in the text, you need to ensure that the spacing, when you bend the band, the spacing of the text is even, and more so around the corners, that it's compact when the band is straight, but it stretches out enough to still look perfect along the sides, the corners, and the bottom of the band. And that takes a lot of trial and error, writing the text, getting it right, and then bending the band and seeing if it opens out so the text looks normal. And that takes time, it's trial and error. And so when customers ask for their own text, although Joseph Duclos will oblige, it adds possibly 3 times to the price. And that's because to get the text aligned and the right level of compact text, so that when it opens out, it looks normal, it takes a lot of trial and error, and therefore that significantly bumps the price up. If it was text that would then be used on a number of other bags, that would reduce the cost. But if it's custom text, that is why it's expensive, even though Joseph Duclos will do it. The text itself, they use a mixture of laser as well as diamond etching. That's to ensure that it's precise and it doesn't damage the band at all. Once the text has been written on the band, it is then bent, and then it is electroplated. Because it's bent and the machinery that they use, it's a small unit, and it's a unit that is small for a reason. It needs to be small so everything is contained. You don't get any particles that go into the container, because if you have any particles that go onto the hardware, it'll not be able to electroplate perfectly. And because of the U shape and the size of the container, it only takes 2 plates. That takes considerable time to electroplate it. You're looking at a time of around 2 hours, and it takes time. And therefore, producing the bags takes time, because the bands will take around 2 hours to electroplate, and you can only do 2 at a time. And so that should be able to help consumers appreciate why you place the order and it takes weeks to turn the bag around, because everything has to be done. It's made to measure, it's made to order, and it's done perfectly. So once the band has been electroplated, it is then added onto the bag. But that adds another level of complexity to the craftsmanship and to the band itself. There is a counterplate that is built into the bag, and the counterplate is what is used to attach the outside band to the bag without creating any evidence of attachment, whether it's screws or you can see any evidence of that. It creates a very clean, neat attachment of the band to the bag. And how it's done is the outside band, they have created a number of little chimneys on the inside, and then the back end of the counterplate, they have created a number of grooves that fit perfectly into the little chimneys. They've used a series of many little screws to attach the counterplate to the outside band through the little chimneys. The screws stop at a certain point. They don't ever pierce the band and then come through on the other end. And depending on the size of the Diane bag will determine the size of the screw. They range in size from 1 centimeter to 1/2 centimeter to 1/3 of a centimeter. And the particular construction with the little chimneys and the groves also allows for space. When Ramesh Nair creates bags, he always thinks about wear and tear, ensuring that his bags age incredibly well and that you get a lifetime's use. He never creates bags with the intention that at some point you will replace the bag. That is never their consideration. The consideration is he will think through the details. How will it age, wear and tear, what will it look like, and how can he construct the bag in such a way that the bag stays in excellent quality. And so the space that's been created with the chimneys and the groves means that with time, the leather will become supple. And like a mattress, if you've used a mattress for a period of time, the springs will, the mattress will flatten and the springs will start to come through and you can feel them. But with the Diane, he has ensured that there's enough space. As the leather becomes supple, it pushes against the springs, but it never pushes in such a way that the screws rather eventually push through the band or cause any form of denting or evidence that there's pressure coming from the inside of the bag. He has allowed for that and created a bag where he's thought not only about how it looks when it's been created, but also how it wears, and it wears incredibly well. There are 3 dedicated artisans focused solely on producing the Diane bag, and that is so that they maintain the hand. The hand is the artisans' finesse, their skill, the hand-eye coordination. They never lose that, and they're able to produce the Diane bag at a very high standard. They don't ever mix artisans, for example, 2 or 3 artisans producing one bag. It's 1 artisan per bag. That way you have consistency throughout. So you don't have a situation, for example, where someone comes in, they have different size stitching, different tension stitching. It's all consistent throughout. All Diane bags come with an additional strap, so you can carry the bag very comfortably over the shoulder or as a crossbody bag. In the past, and I know I will see it going forward, it won't stop, I have viewers saying, why should I pay a premium for Joseph Duclos? Is it worth it? Because the assumption is there isn't any hype like the aspirational brands. It doesn't have the heritage, the prestige and so forth that's associated with the heritage brands. It is a heritage brand that has recently been reopened. But what you're getting with Joseph Duclos, and I've tried to illustrate in this video with just a little more detail about the hardware. I didn't want to talk in too much depth because people will switch off. But I just wanted to illustrate the level of thought and execution that has gone into the Diane, looking at the hardware, the band, the calligraphy, how it's bent, how it's electroplated, how it's attached. And the level of craft that has gone into not only the Diane, but all of Joseph Duclos bags. You will not find any other brand producing bags to the same standard. And I say that for Hermes as well, the brand that used to be the benchmark. Ramesh has come in and he has pushed the envelope and he's totally changed and redefined the boundaries. And I just think talking about Joseph Duclos in different videos, talking about different aspects, will help viewers understand the level of craft that's going in. You're not paying for hype, You're purely paying for craft and a creative director who thinks about the bag, how it's going to age, and how to ensure it ages incredibly well. If there's anything I've missed, I've overlooked, or you don't understand, as always, please let me know in the comment section down below. A few months ago, one of my viewers asked, what is a power bag? And this was off the back of a short I released detailing what I think are the only 7 essential bags you need. And one of them is a power bag. A power bag is the ultimate fashion and communication accessory. Without you saying anything, whether you walk into a room, someone sees you out and about, it says you are confident, you command authority, you're someone who's incredibly capable at whatever it is you do, whatever your chosen profession. It's what I personally refer to on this channel, just a very small sliver of bags at the top end of the market, as poised, very well put together, and highly groomed. And the first time I saw the Diane L30, my heart literally missed a beat, and I thought, oh my gosh, Ramesh, you have really outdone yourself. Visually, when you look at the bag, it looks expensive, but it's not expensive when you consider what you are getting from this bag. He's used their signature leather, the heritage leather, the finest quality natural leather in the leather goods market when it comes to handbags. You cannot beat heritage leather. There are 2 color options. You have the black and you also have the chestnut. And it also comes in the tempo leather in the blue Occitan color. Front of the bag, all you have is the beautiful gold clasp. There isn't the signature gold band around this bag because it would be too heavy in terms of the weight, and also heavy aesthetically, visually to look at. There'd just be too much gold because it's a fairly big bag. It's 30 centimeters in length, 21 centimeters in height, and you're looking at a depth of about 13.5 centimeters. So it's incredibly simple, and it just marvels in its simplicity. The leather looks expensive, it's beautiful, it's sumptuous, it's plump to the touch. And then you have on the underside of the bag, you have 2 little pads, and that just elevates the bag, gives it the poise, it raises, it makes the bag a lot more graceful. Wherever you place it, it'll just look incredibly poised. Open the bag. On the inside, you have 2 equal sized compartments. And then on the far side, you have a little sleeve on the inside. And then, of course, as always, the calfskin lining on the inside and the blue signature leather flap on the underside of the bag. Exquisite edge coating all around, thinly, neatly, evenly, all hand applied. And the bag also has an additional strap, like all Diane bags, but I would never recommend using the strap. I feel the bag is too big for the strap to carry over the shoulder crossbody. This is a bag you need to show off each and every time you carry it. Either carry it using the top handle or placed in the crook of your arm, which I think is the best way to show off this bag, because this is a bag wherever you carry it, people will notice it. And if anything, it'll just give you that confidence. You're upright, you're poised, you're confident, because you know this bag is absolutely exceptional. I mean, Ramesh outdid himself on this, and I had to literally control myself from not gushing when I saw this bag. But my goodness, to me, this is phenomenal. It's absolutely beautiful. Let me know what you think. The L15, the L30, do any of these bags have your name on them? I know for a fact, as I march into my 50s, this bag has my name all over it. This is the style, the vibe I would like. Let me know as always in the comments down below what you think.